Doctors get less than 20 hours of nutrition training in all of medical school. That failure nearly cost me my health until I discovered the carnivore diet. Let me show you what they never taught your doctor. Hi, my name is Mark Bates. I'm a metabolic health coach, and this video is on the carnivore cure, reclaiming nutrition in medicine. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm a metabolic health coach. I work very closely with my clients' doctors, though. I try to get in touch with them as needed to make sure that they know what their clients are being told by me so that we are both on the same side. Okay? So I'm not anti-doctor. I just know there are limitations. Here we go. Why medical school failed my clients. Medical school taught doctors that they should be knowledgeable about everything related to prescribing medications and performing surgeries. It taught them almost nothing about nutrition. 4 years of intensive medical training, thousands of hours studying anatomy, physiology, pharmacology, and pathology. The total time spent learning about nutrition, less than 2 hours. They didn't realize this gap was killing their ability to help patients until I faced my own health crisis and pointed out things that I had learned to them. Okay? Let's go with the moment that everything changed. Despite following what I believed was a balanced diet, right? I struggled with migraines, excess weight, my type 2 diabetes, suboptimal energy, and my doctor, as a medically trained professional, instinctively tried to solve these issues the way he was taught. Standard diagnostics, medications, a lot of them as necessary, the established guidelines for balanced eating and exercise. It was all the standard stuff. Nothing worked. The turning point came during a brief conversation I had at a medical conference that I was attending with a cardiologist who mentioned that nutrition could reverse coronary artery disease. That was something completely new to me, quite honestly. This knowledge was regulated to a poorly attended lunchtime elective because the mainstream curriculum prioritized profitable interventions like surgeries and stents over nutrition education. But this coronary doctor was like, hey, I thought that was fascinating as we were talking about it. That's when he realized the full extent of the problem. Medical schools only provided maybe 19, 20 hours of nutrition education across 4 years of training. Less than 1% of the total lecture hours. And most of that, once again, were these lunchtime electives. And he was at a nutrition conference trying to learn more about nutrition. What he said was that they were being trained for band-aid sick care instead of addressing root causes, which is what we're looking for now, right? So my accidental discovery. So I was frustrated by the conventional medicine's failures in my case. I began experimenting with different dietary approaches. I tried everything: vegan, vegetarian, Atkins, paleo, Mediterranean, right? And they all had various levels of success. Then I discovered the carnivore diet. The transition from vegetarianism to eating only animal products seemed extreme, but within weeks something remarkable happened. My joint pain disappeared, my type 2 diabetes reversed, digestive issues that had plagued me for years vanished, my energy levels soared. I mean, heck, I even thought about trying to run a marathon. I don't do that anymore, but it crossed my mind. And the biggest thing was that my mental clarity improved dramatically. Most striking was what happened when I reintroduced plant foods, right? My digestive discomfort returned immediately. Inflammation came back. My body was telling me something that the medical advice I had been given just never prepared me to understand. That plants were not good for you. Okay? There are 3 pillars of evidence you need to understand. Now, this is where my training as a researcher helped. I needed more than personal experience to validate what I was finding. I built my understanding on 3 pillars of evidence that challenged everything I thought I had already known and was shown by my doctors about nutrition. First was the anecdotal pillar. I started documenting reports from carnivore diet adherents. The patterns were consistent and remarkable. Weight loss without calorie counting, muscle gain, increased energy, better facial symmetry, elimination of dental cavities, reversal of conditions like diabetes, depression, and anxiety. And this is in addition to my own experience with this. I met many vegetarians and vegans at meetings and conferences who transitioned to carnivore diets. I never encountered a carnivore who switched to veganism. This one-way migration pattern suggested something profound about human dietary needs. Then there's the population studies pillar. I examined indigenous populations like the Maasai tribe, who primarily consumed meat and dairy. They exhibited superior physical attributes, greater height, muscle density, bone density, perfect dental formation, and the absence of degenerative diseases. When tribe members adopted Western diets with processed foods, their health deteriorated significantly and quickly. This suggested diet, not genetics, was the determining factor. And then I discovered something that shook my faith in population studies entirely, right? Because we still adhered about all these things. And the big one was the famous blue zones, celebrated for plant-based longevity. When I was initially into veganism, boy, the blue zones were the biggest thing. We had all this evidence showing how great it was for you, how much healthier the people were, right? The problem was blue zones had serious data problems. Government audits revealed that 72% of Greece's claimed centenarians were already dead, right? Japan found that 82% of their centenarians were missing or deceased. So there weren't all these people living to over 100. These weren't isolated incidents. They were systematic problems with pension fraud and misreported ages, undermining the entire foundation of longevity research. And finally, there's the biochemical pillar, and this is probably the most important one. The most compelling evidence came from biochemistry. And when I started studying, especially under some functional medicine doctors, about biochemistry and how it affected everything, I became convinced. Human metabolism operates through two primary pathways: glycolysis, which is carbohydrate-based, and fat oxidation. Ketone metabolism produces what I call cleaner energy at the cellular level. When cells metabolize glucose, they generate reactive oxygen species that damage DNA, proteins, and lipids. This is what causes systematic inflammation, right? These free radicals contribute to inflammation and aging issues. Ketone metabolism produces significantly fewer of these damaging byproducts. Beta-hydroxybutyrate, right, has a higher hydrogen to carbon ratio than pyruvate, yielding more free energy per mole of oxygen with fewer reactive oxygen species. It's a much cleaner energy source. Ketones enter the tricarboxylic acid cycle, right, or the Krebs cycle, more efficiently than glucose-derived pyruvate. They bypass insulin dependence entirely, making them a reliable fuel source even in insulin-resistant states. This biochemical superiority isn't opinion, it's measurable and objective science. And this is why, if you're looking for a doctor, I do suggest trying to find a functional medicine doctor, because they are trained much more in these areas than regular doctors. Okay, but the surprises kept coming. The industry influenced reality. My investigation into all this have revealed why this information remains hidden from medical education. In the 1960s, the Sugar Research Foundation paid Harvard researchers the equivalent of $48,000 in today's dollars to downplay sugar's role in heart disease and shift blame to dietary fat. I don't know what you call that. I have a specific word for that, but we'll leave it at that, right? This is documented fact. These scientists authored reviews published in prestigious journals that shaped decades of dietary guidelines. One of the paid researchers later became head of the USDA and authored influential guidelines that demonized fats while exonerating sugar. And remember, the USDA is the federal agency that produces the food pyramid or the MyPlate guidelines. This wasn't conspiracy theory. It was documented historical fact. In fact, it was confirmed by peer-reviewed research analyzing internal industry communications. And there's an ingrained reason why medicine resists this change. The medical establishment's resistance to carnivore diet stems from multiple factors beyond industry influence. So that's a big one. Medical training creates deeply ingrained frameworks establishing carbohydrate-centric guidelines and the dangers of saturated fat. Challenging these beliefs requires uncomfortable unlearning and relearning. Physicians fear professional backlash. Right? You have to understand that. Being labeled as fringe or unscientific can impact reputation, career advancement, and patient trust. Healthcare institutions prioritize standardized protocols that are slow to evolve. Right? The medical system structure focuses on pharmaceuticals and procedures, creating economic incentives that don't align with dietary interventions. Right? If you ever get a chance, talk to a doctor about how they actually get paid these days, because almost all of them are employees of a medical group, right? Some medical corporation. Ask them how they're paid and what Obamacare. There are some good things that came out of Obamacare, but one of the worst things that came out of Obamacare was the fact that they started tracking scores of how doctors interacted with their patients and what they considered to be an interaction. And what they considered to be an interaction was seeing the patient, which is good, prescribing something, which may or may not be good, right? Doing a standardized lab, following the protocols. So, for example, you go into your doctor with high cholesterol, they can just do the standard worthless cholesterol test, right? And say your total cholesterol is over 300. You need a statin because that's the standardized protocol that they're aligned to. And let me tell you something, and your doctor may or may not be able to validate this with you. Most doctors, if they don't prescribe enough statin drugs based upon their patients who have cholesterol tests that are over a certain number, they get called in and they're asked, why aren't you prescribing statin drugs? You wonder who wrote that protocol up. Okay? Dietary changes are far less profitable and harder to monetize than drugs and surgeries. And that's a big deal. Okay? So if you're interested in carnivore, don't just jump into it. Let me give you a practical transition roadmap, right? Because if you don't give your body a chance to change to it, you're going to be in for a world of hurt. A lot of people are used to this thing called the keto flu. They've heard of it. Well, that's just mostly that they're not giving their body a chance to change over from that high carbohydrate diet to a high fat diet with moderate protein. Okay? So week 1, add 3 fully meat-based meals while maintaining some plant foods, right? Focus on easily digestible animal products like eggs and fish and ground meats. Reduce high fiber vegetables by 25%. Week 2, increase to 8 carnivore meals. Reduce dietary fiber by 50%. Eliminate the most fibrous and oxalate-rich plant foods first. I can help you with that. Increase salt intake to support electrolyte balance. Week 3, introduce 2 full carnivore days. Right? Continue tapering fiber-rich foods by 75%. Monitor your energy levels and bowel movements closely. Week 4, progress to 5 full carnivore days. Eliminate most plant foods. Include organ meats, potentially, and bone broth for nutrient density. Maintain adequate fat intake. We can talk about organ meats if you don't like them. They're not 100% necessary. I like a little bit of organ meat. They really do add a lot more vitamins to what you're taking in. Week 5, consume 85% carnivore meals. Focus on eating to satiety. That means until you're full. Don't even think about calories. Calories don't count at all, period, right? But here, you're eating until you're full. The main thing here now is before you started eating carnivore, right, you were actually starving your body, eating carbohydrates. Now we're going to feed your body. It takes time. You got to get your body fully fed with nutrition, right? Avoid under-eating, which causes fatigue. Monitor for digestive symptoms. Week 6, transition to 100% carnivore. Continue enjoying variety in animal products. Maintain hydration and salt intake. Okay? Take time. Give yourself a chance to move over. Give your gut a chance. By the way, your gut microbiome takes time. Give it 2 to 4 weeks at least to transition from eating a high fiber, carbohydrate intensive diet to a carnivore diet. I like 6 weeks better. It gives you a little bit more time to transition. That's why I'm talking about 6 weeks here. But you got to give yourself a little bit of chance on that, okay? Warning signs to slow down include severe digestive distress, excessive fatigue, dizziness, nausea, mental fog, or unattended rapid weight loss. If you're losing too much fat, too much weight too quickly, that's not good. Okay? If these occur, reintroduce some tolerated plant foods temporarily and consult a healthcare professional or your metabolic health coach familiar with ketogenic approaches. Okay? It really does work very well. All right. Navigating professional cognitive dissonance. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. You go talk to your doctor. And you say, I'm talking to this guy who's a metabolic health coach and he's telling me to go carnivore. And your doctor's going to have a problem with that. Most doctors that I encounter for the first time do. All right? Acknowledge the dissonance. That they're not going to feel comfortable. Okay? Right, there's going to be tension between what they were trained and what experience you're getting, and why all of a sudden you're getting great results from that. Right? Have them commit to lifelong learning beyond medical school. Most doctors obviously do this, but they may not be looking at carnivore nutrition as where they're getting that. And if they're a general practitioner, this may be something very important to them. Right? Have them look at some of the new guidelines coming out of the Department of Health, right under RFK Jr. He's committed to this idea of nutrition, right? Prioritize your outcomes and have them prioritize their patient outcomes over rigid adherence. Now, this is going to be the problem one where they may have a problem with how they're being paid and what their medical corporations are telling them to do. But just talk with them about that. And trust me, your doctor doesn't want you to be sick. They got into medicine to help people. But they're trained and they're paid and they're forced to do things in a particular manner. Work with them on this, okay? Help them maintain professional integrity by being transparent about what they're doing and their limitations. And then they have no problem with you doing what you're doing, okay? And have them connect with professionals in nutrition, but not the trained nutritionists that probably on their staff, because those people went to traditional nutrition schools who are taught to eat high carbohydrate, high fiber, high sugar diets. Okay, they should be trying to talk with people who specialize, and there are lots of doctors now who specialize in carnivore. Have them talk to some of those. Have them go to have them look at some of the conferences just for carnivore doctors. There's a lot of information out there for them. The most important lesson, ask your doctor this. If you could speak to your younger self at the beginning of medical school, what would you give as one crucial piece of advice that you now know? Take ownership. I would tell you, take ownership of your nutrition education from the very start, because they're not going to teach you this in medical school. You have too much other stuff to learn. Okay? Understand that nutrition is the fundamental, foundational pillar of health and disease prevention. It's far more powerful than any pharmaceutical intervention taught in medical school. Okay? Have them develop curiosity and skepticism toward established dogma. Always question and validate with scientific evidence and clinical outcomes. Have them go to carnivore conferences where they can talk to other doctors who've gone through this. There's plenty of them out there. Okay? And not every doctor is going to change. And you may have to find another doctor ultimately. Okay? Just be prepared for that. Or you may go to them a whole lot less. My doctor's not going to change. They're under my medical plan. I just don't visit them that often anymore. I only go to them when I absolutely need to, and I tell them exactly what I want them to do for me. Okay? So be prepared for that. Okay? And remember for yourself, individual variation does matter. The carnivore diet isn't a universal solution. Individual responses vary based on genetics, health status, and lifestyle factors. Listen to your body and adjust accordingly. Some people may benefit from including organ meats, others don't. Seafood may or may not work for some you, or are limited, or on a limited amount, right? Dairy is another one of those ones. You may do fine on dairy. Your loved one may not. Be willing to try to figure that out. Transition gradually to minimize your symptoms and your digestive upset. Okay, support yourself with adequate hydration. The carnivore diet often faces skepticism due to its restrictive nature and departure from mainstream guidelines, but not from people who are really in the know. Work with a community like the one that I'm building here, or there are other ones out there. Get advice, talk to people, right? Get more information, but make up your own mind. And if it's working for you, don't worry what other people tell you, right? If your goal is to get healthy, if you were like me, you're on type 2 diabetes, you can get off your meds, you can get more energy, you can lose weight, then who cares what other people are telling you, okay? Nutrition science keeps evolving, and I will be trying to keep you up to date on the latest stuff out there. But the reality is, there are now long-term studies on carnivore and ketogenic diets that have proven the efficacy here. We know this stuff works, so you don't have to hide anymore. This is real. It does work. Okay? Carnivore diet represents a powerful tool within a personalized, well-supported framework. That's another one. This is not a one-size-fits-everyone diet choice. This is a lifestyle that you will adjust based upon how it's affecting you. Okay? And just remember, your doctor's medical education, right? I'm not a doctor. Your doctor's medical education may fail you. It failed me, right? I've had to learn what my doctor's limitations are and what I can and can't get from them, okay? And why I don't worry about what they tell me about diet, because they just really don't have the education there sometimes, okay? Your most important intervention is your own brain, your own research, and your own body. And if you're getting healthy, who the heck cares if somebody tells you that carnivore is bad for you? Because they don't know. And I love it, the fact that the people who are telling you, because the people who tell me constantly that carnivore doesn't work, they're all overweight, they're all sick, and they're telling me it doesn't work. And I'm not overweight anymore, and I'm not sick, and they say, oh, but carnivore doesn't work. Okay, very good. Just remember the source. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. If you have any comments or questions, you know where to leave that information. If you have things you want me to talk about, I'm building a community here. I want to give you the information you want. Let me know what you're looking for so I can make a video for you. All right? And look in the description for my group coaching program. We're starting that up in October of this year. $10 a month. We have live Q&A sessions. We have specific webinars that only coaching clients can get to. We'll have information only coaching clients can have access to. We'll have access to some things that no one else has access to, okay? It's well worth looking into. And $10 a month shouldn't be too expensive for almost anybody, right? Work with me on that. All right. If you haven't done so, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, share it with a friend. It helps the channel a great deal. I'll thank you for that in advance. Have a great day.